Hey, I'm Blair Best. It's Thursday here on The Story, and tonight, the Rose Quarter project along I-5 is on financial life support, the cost ballooning to $2 billion, and now ODOT is considering throwing in the towel. Plus, an idea to cut millions of dollars from the City of Portland's camp removal program fails in City Council, but not by much. Plus, new data on the second week of the city's camping ban enforcement. But first, none of Oregon's Democratic members of Congress voted in favor of the bill to end the government shutdown. I talked with some of them today about why. It's our big story tonight. Wednesday night, President Trump signed a funding bill ending the longest government shutdown in U.S. history on day 43.
With my signature, the federal government will now resume normal operations.
The stalemate between Democrats and Republicans came down to health care. Democrats wanting to lower the cost of insurance. Republicans wanting to deal with that separate from this bill.
The yeas are 222, the nays are 209.
8 Democrats in the Senate and 6 in the House switched their votes Wednesday to support the bill, even though it did not include extending health care subsidies.
The motion is adopted.
None of Oregon's Democratic members of Congress voted for the plan.
I was just really pleased that the Democrats of the Oregon delegation stood in solidarity with Oregonians who were asking us to hold strong.
Democratic Congresswoman Andrea Salinas represents Oregon's 6th congressional district. As for the changes she wanted to see in the bill,
who knows, right? We were never in a negotiation, and we kept saying that because Republicans kept saying, well, what will you need to see? And it was like, bring us into a room. President Trump was traipsing around the country or around the world, and we weren't brought into the room to even, he wasn't even in the country to have a negotiation over lowering costs for healthcare, groceries, utilities, nothing.
We've been here in Washington, D.C., wanting to work with our colleagues on both sides of the aisle. They didn't show up.
Democrat Suzanne Bonamici represents Oregon's 1st congressional district. She tried amending the bill to include lowering health care costs.
We kept offering amendments to try to improve this bill, and every single one of the amendments they turned down.
The bill came with a promise from Republicans for a Democratic health care vote in December.
So I am not completely confident. I hope it would happen, because they've broken promises this entire year, and they're not listening.
Oregon's only Republican member of Congress, Cliff Bentz, had this message for Democrats when we talked with him earlier this week. What is your message to all the Oregon Democrats who voted no repeatedly on bills to reopen the government?
Well, I would ask them what they got for it. Go back and take a look at what was offered the day we walked home and what's in the current package, and I think you'd see that they could have obtained what's in the current package 7 weeks ago.
Now, Representative Marie Gluesenkamp Perez of Washington was among those 6 Democrats in the House to vote in favor of the bill ending the shutdown. She was unavailable to talk with us today, but we are working on setting up an interview with her in the coming days, so be sure to stay tuned for that. But she did write in a statement in part, "I voted to end this partisan car crash of a shutdown. The last several weeks have been a case study in why most Americans can't stand Congress. None of my friends who rely on SNAP would want to trade their dinner for an ambiguous D.C. Beltway messaging victory. And I'm glad this ugly scene is in the rearview mirror." Okay, strong words there. But we want to hear from you. What do you think of Oregon Democrats voting against the bill last night? Are you glad they stayed the course, in their words, to fight for lower health care costs? Or do you think they should have put that aside and voted to reopen the government sooner? Let us know. Email the story at kgw.com or call and leave us a voicemail, 503-226-5090. Well, Portland City Council voted late last night to reject an idea to cut money from the city's homeless camp removal program. Councilor Angelita Murillo proposed cutting $4.3 million from the Impact Reduction Program's roughly $14 million budget and putting that money toward East Portland safety improvements, along with helping people afford rent and food. Now, she argued the city is on track to clear about 8,000 homeless camps this fiscal year, and she says sweeps are not effective in getting people off the streets.
We are exceeding the projection that we currently have. We are funneling city dollars into an endless pit of sweeps. We are not helping our neighbors become housed.
Okay, it's important to note that this idea didn't just come out of the blue. Because get this, we're not even halfway through the city's fiscal year, and there's already a more than $16 million budget gap in the city's general fund because of lower than expected revenue. That gap needs to be filled per state law, and that's what Murillo's now failed proposal aimed to fix. The vote on her idea was close. 5 yes votes, 3 no votes, and 4 councilors were absent, meaning it failed because it didn't receive 7 yes votes. Some councilors had to leave due to how long the discussion on amendments lasted, more than 6 hours. And just before Murillo's idea went to a vote around 7 p.m., the mayor wanted to chime in. Let's listen.
We aren't just moving people anymore. I hear people saying that it's a game of whack-a-mole. That is so inhumane and not representative of what we are doing today. It may be something we spoke about over this past 5 or 6 years, but every time I hear someone say that, I think about that these are individuals. We're not doing that. And last week, we sheltered 39 people, the best week we've ever had.
We have now kept staff 5 minutes over when we said we would be done.
Let me make this last point. I have said to many of you, when amendments are being brought that are going to have a material effect on our city, it is time for us to think slow and do our due diligence to define what our outcome is.
Mr. Mayor, is this to Maria 1?
It is. It is. To measure what we are trying to achieve, to analyze it with a group, with the administration as our partners, building a trustful relationship. We need a professional, disciplined executive. Also, we need a professional, disciplined council. Together, we have to move our city forward. I ask that you vote no on Maria 1.
Councilors did present other ideas on how to fill the city's newfound budget gap, and those are expected to come up during a second reading next week. We'll keep you posted. Okay, you heard the mayor mention there that last week, 39 people chose to use an overnight shelter instead of camping on the streets. Well, that number comes from city data now that enforcement of the camping ban resumed this month. Today, the city released new numbers on how the second week of enforcement went. 14 people accepted shelter between November 6th and the 12th. Here's what the other numbers show during that same time frame. Officers went to 44 campsites and spoke to nearly 80 people. 60 people were violating the camping ban, and 59 warnings were given out. 2 people got citations, meaning a court date with potential consequences like a $100 fine or a week in jail. The mayor has said he wants to use those punishments to be a last resort. And 33 people were arrested for outstanding warrants. Now let's combine the first 2 weeks of data on a few of those points. In the first 2 weeks of Portland's camping ban enforcement, more than 50 people decided to stay in a shelter rather than sleeping somewhere outside. Officers went to over 100 camps, and 141 people were violating the camping ban. The vast majority received warnings. 9 people were cited. In those first 2 weeks, police arrested more than 70 people on outstanding warrants. Okay, last night we gave you a live look inside a Newport City Council meeting along the Oregon coast. It was packed with residents there upset and curious over what appears to be growing evidence that ICE plans to open some sort of facility there. Catherine Cook was at the meeting.
It was an emotional night here at Newport City Hall. A lot of tears, a lot of opposition to any plans for bringing ICE to town. There are still a lot of unknowns here, and elected officials say that's the point, describing feds as working within the shadows with zero transparency. No ICE! No ICE! Frustration and fear in Newport, where city leaders say plans for an ICE detention facility appear to be underway. Hundreds of people packed City Hall to oppose those plans, whether real or rumored. That includes a young girl whose father is currently in ICE detention.
No one deserves to get picked up. My dad was my everything.
My God, that's what we're fighting for. That her father was dragged in the street, hauled off, and that impacted this whole community.
Newport Mayor Jan Kaplan vowed to fight any plans for an ICE facility on the coast. He says the city was tipped off last week when a third party filed a letter of intent to lease several acres near the airport for federal use. But on Wednesday, the city said that letter of intent had been withdrawn. Even so, State Representative David Gomberg noted other plans signaling an ICE facility are still in motion. That includes business inquiries from federal contractors.
Septic companies are being solicited for bidding to remove up to 10,000 gallons of human waste each day from the Newport airport.
And late last month, Newport's only Coast Guard helicopter was quietly relocated to North Bend, triggering mass opposition over safety concerns.
We need that helicopter here. If we don't get that helicopter here, lives will be lost.
Mayor Kaplan says the feds haven't answered the city's requests for information. Same with questions posed by Oregon's congressional delegation. On Wednesday, they sent a letter to DHS Secretary Kristi Noem demanding clarity on the government's plans in Newport.
Right now, there's no question before us from the feds. You know, we can't answer a question that hasn't been asked. Nobody's trying to lease anything at the moment. If they were, I think they'd be stupid, but we'd have an answer.
City officials say right now they're figuring out what to do next, what the city council can do to prevent ICE from coming to town. They say they are incredibly grateful for all of the support within Newport and surrounding communities. In Newport, Catherine Cook, KGW News.
Well, to Skamania County in southwest Washington now, where a traffic camera program the sheriff's office uses to investigate cases is going offline. The department says it's because of a recent judge's ruling, which made the images from those cameras public. And deputies say that is not what the cameras were intended for. Devin Haskins explains.
For close to a year, 6 of these cameras scattered throughout Skamania County have been a source of contention. Some like it, others don't.
I was kind of not a fan to see the flock cameras come into my own town, especially right near my own house.
The big concern, the camera is being used to track people and an invasion of privacy. The sheriff's office says, though, that was never their use or intention, and said the only thing they could be used for were specific cases.
The deputies are required to have a case to justify the search, and they are to, and I will review that every 3 months and to make sure that the justification is there.
Under Sheriff Tracy Wyckoff championed the idea and used county funds and grant money to have them installed.
For us, yeah, it's been successful.
He says they've been used to help solve crimes or locate a missing person. The images were only available by request and approval to Washington agencies, not federal and not the public. But a recent Washington State Superior Court ruling changed everything, declaring that the flock camera images are public records. That means anyone from anywhere can request them.
The concern with the public here is that they feel like their information is being exposed to us unnecessarily, but now people can do records requests for any reason from anywhere and get the same information we had. And that's concerning to us because we're trying to keep this information secure and safe.
The sheriff's office says the cameras have been turned off, but will remain in place for now. Kate Bertosh, who lives at the east end of the county, has been a vocal opponent since day one.
I'm often really worried that companies like Flock Safety are just looking to use small communities like ours to get recurring revenue from, that they don't really offer a service that is going to meet our needs.
And says she's happy to see them turned off.
I am definitely very happy to see them turned off. I hope it's also a great opportunity for us to revisit together kind of like what it is we expect from public safety, but also from privacy and how we can guarantee that to each other instead as members of the community.
The sheriff's office says the cameras will remain turned off until and if the court ruling ever changes. They also say that they'll remain in place until they're removed once that contract with the company ends, which is set to expire at the end of 2026. In Stevenson, I'm Devin Haskins, KGW News.
Well, coming up next on the story, the Nike store downtown Portland reopened today. We'll take you inside, plus what local business leaders have to say about restoring Portland's Central City. That's when the story returns. Well, Chief Meteorologist Matt Safino joins us now. Matt, what should people know for their Friday and the upcoming weekend?
Yeah, Blair, Friday's not looking too bad. In fact, somewhat similar to today, although probably a bit drier. Look at Mount Hood. The mountain came out for a while today. Look at the southerly winds, though. And then the clouds just overtake the big volcano. The mountain tried. It really did. But in the end, it lost. Hey, but look at this.
Ooh, look at that one.
Isn't that good?
I like that.
It's over the Mount Hood National Forest. Terry Woodburn taking this video of the rainbow. And boy, they were brilliant. I saw one on the east side of Portland today, too. And they were good. The rainfall amounts were not that heavy. We had 1/10 of an inch in Portland, 11/100 of an inch in Vancouver, 15/100 in Hillsborough, and Astoria, the big rain winner today, with 3/4 of an inch up on the north coast. Portland right now, clouds are trying to lift a bit, right? I mean, half hour ago, this was all sucked in. Couldn't even see the east side of the city. 54 degrees and the rain has stopped. You know who's going to get all the rain, Blair?
Who?
Southern California. They're going to get drenched. In fact, it may even be too much rain too soon because southerly flow aloft really hits the mountain ranges of Southern California hard. I'll show you in just a minute. For us, though, look, this is tomorrow 11 a.m. We're dry, no rain, all good. We go into the overnight hours, Friday into Saturday, we're still dry. Big game down at Eugene tomorrow night. It's a Friday night game. A lot of people going down to watch the Ducks, and it should be dry at Autzen Stadium for that. Dry through much of the weekend, and then this is Sunday morning, just a few scattered showers. It'll be Sunday night before we get into any serious precipitation, I think. You see the amounts through tomorrow, a couple hundreds, maybe 1/10 of an inch by Saturday night. It's really Sunday night when the rainfall amounts add up to about an inch or so. What about mountain snow? I know a lot of people are waiting for this. I'm one of them. We want to see that snowpack build so we can start ski season right. Doesn't look all that promising through this week. As we go into next week, maybe a little bit better, but again, California. That's 2 feet down at Mammoth and nearly 2 feet at Tahoe as well. And they'll get more in some of the bigger peaks down there. The rainfall, too, through the next several days, over 3 inches in Los Angeles. That is problematic, especially on the burn scars like the Palisades Fire burn scar down that way. So we'll hold out hope that things go well down that way. We're 54 right now, and we don't really get a ton of rain. We get some scattered showers, otherwise partly sunny and pretty mild, around 60 tomorrow. And around 60 again on Saturday, sun and showers. Then the rain comes in Sunday night, but it ends on Monday. And then Blair, after that, we should dry out for at least Tuesday and Wednesday, and maybe even longer. I have showers on Thursday again, but I may take those away. And it will get a little bit chillier, lows in the 30s and 40s, highs only in the low 50s. But again, pretty good week ahead, and more importantly, a pretty good weekend.
Okay, Matt, sounds good. Thanks so much.
You bet.
Well, now to a welcome sight. As Nike opened the doors of its downtown Portland store for the first time in a year and a half. Today was the grand reopening on Southwest 5th and Morrison. John Adams takes us there.
Now, this store underwent major renovations that took about 18 months to complete. Folks that I talked to earlier today said they were eagerly awaiting this reopening.
Eager shoppers poured into this Nike store for its reopening celebration Thursday morning in downtown Portland. They were greeted by local mascots and store employees, welcoming them to a shopping experience focused on the company's running products. For some, the reopening at this location was a welcome sight for downtown.
I've been waiting a long time for this to get finished. It's been lonely down here without them.
Nike has had a relationship with downtown Portland that has spanned decades. Many longtime residents remember Nike Town, which opened in 1990. This is former gold medalist Michael Johnson visiting Nike Town in November 1996. This store, that's just a stone's throw from Pioneer Courthouse Square, opened in 2011 but closed to shoppers in spring 2024. President and CEO of Portland Metro Chamber, Andrew Hone, says the reopening marks a big day in downtown Portland's continued recovery.
It sends a message that Portland is on the rise and that the private sector has confidence in the direction that our city is heading in.
Hone tells us downtown saw a 6% increase in visitor foot traffic over the summer and believes the reopening of this store will only help move the area forward.
Trend lines are pointing up for foot traffic. We've got great momentum on our visitors. In terms of having a Nike store, that just adds a rocket booster behind those sort of numbers.
Tim Rupp, a senior creative director with Nike, says the company is here to stay.
We're committed to the downtown community, and we're committed to Portland.
The festivities will continue tomorrow with a run featuring Olympian Galen Rupp that starts at 8 a.m. Friday morning. In downtown Portland, John Adams, KGW News.
The I-5 Rose Quarter project, which includes widening the freeway and building a cap that would reconnect parts of Portland's Albina neighborhood, has some major money problems. And now ODOT is considering shelving future work until more funding is confirmed. The project cost has ballooned to $2 billion, and the Trump administration recently revoked nearly $450 million in federal grant money meant for the freeway cover.
We've got an administration that is looking to cut funding for a lot of projects like this and for a lot of initiatives like this, and any small foothold they can get on a lot of these projects as an excuse to claw back money, they take. And that's what they did here.
That left us in a position where we have to continue to think about, okay, what is the right next step and what are the things available to the project.
So in case you missed it last night, the man you just heard from there, ODOT Director Chris Strickler, announced he is leaving the agency at the beginning of the year. But the Rose Quarter project has faced setback after setback. The federal funding was just the latest. Two leaders of the project left this year as the funding gap grew. Earlier this summer, Governor Tina Kotek all but admitted the project was dead in the water because the money simply isn't there.
I think what I would say about Rose Quarter is I will continue to advocate that the federal government, who has made commitments, at least for one portion of that project, continues to come through. And that's what we're focused on right now. And we have to develop a path to get that project done. I do think it's critical. It's a safety issue. I think it's a modernization issue. And at this point, we don't have a clear path to funding it, but we're going to continue to work on it.
Okay, it's worth noting that the first phase of construction of the project is already underway. That's things like stormwater facilities, bridge maintenance, and some seismic work on bridges along that stretch of I-5. But if no more money is earmarked for the project by the state or the feds, there's a chance that's where the work ends. The Oregon Transportation Commission will decide on what comes next. The topic was originally on agenda for today's meeting, but it's since been moved to next month. Well, that's the end of our show, folks. Thanks so much for watching. The good stuff is coming your way next, and don't forget, everyone has a story to tell. If you ever miss an episode of The Story at 6:30, guess what? We re-air it at 8:30 and 10:30 on our TV app, KGW+, which you can get for free right now on Roku, Apple TV, and Fire TV. I am off tomorrow. Tim Gordon will be with you Friday and Monday here on The Story, but I'll see you right back here Tuesday night at 6:30.